it's a busy place in the centre of the city, but it also has this extraordinary sense of being right in the heart of the city, but also in its own piece of quietness, of sanctuary, because the kirk is set within its own graveyard. It's a wonderful green space in the city. And I guess what we're providing here is a kind of sanctuary.
For myself, I kind of walked in today having kind of journeyed up Princes Street and made my way here, and I was just so aware of the variety of stuff that was going on in Edinburgh, the kind of colour and the movement and the sound and even the smell of the town. I think sometimes we can get really stuck in our heads and become quite cerebral about a lot of stuff that's going on. I did find it really quite engaging and found it a lovely space to walk into.
And so we've created a quiet space where people can come and where they can just be present to themselves and be present to God.
Well, I think one of the things that really inspired me is something that I suppose I've been challenged by throughout my ministry, and that is, how do you make the church accessible to people who are intimidated or in some ways put off by the kind of 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning culture and all the kind of activities that surround that are perhaps not things that they identify with or a culture that they can easily adapt to. And this venture seemed to just remove so many barriers for people, and it's proved to be the case in the course of this week.
Offers a possibility to people who maybe haven't darkened the doorstep of a church for a long time. A sense that they can come into a space and not be hindered by the paraphernalia. A chance for them to set their own agenda, to bring their own burdens in and to leave their burdens here if they want to light candles, to sing, to reflect, to pray. So it's very much in keeping with where life is for people and welcoming people as they are.
Well, around the kirk we have put a variety of installations, and the installations are really there to help people reflect. So behind me here is an installation to do with anger, and essentially we have invited people to write on a piece of paper and express something of their anger at God. And I think in the church we often don't give people the time or the space to talk about the things in our lives that are difficult. So here some of the people have been writing deeply profound reflections and hurts and pains and sorrows, and they've pinned them up against the cross, and then on the last night of the NiteKirk we will burn them at the foot of the cross as a way of just letting go of our sorrows and our pain and our anger.
What goes on in the evening is not something that is directed and something that has expectations of people. Rather, what happens is that the installations, the art, the music, the poetry, the liturgical pieces all give people a flavour, a sense, some kind of foothold into an opportunity for people to explore their own spirituality and to meet God in their own kind of way and at their own pace and at their own level.
But I think to come in here and to leave, you won't be untouched by it, you'll be moved by it. And you know, I could preach to a congregation of 300 or 400 folk who may not be touched as much by what I say in the pulpit as what they might experience in a place like this.
One of the installations we have is people being invited to come forward for anointing with oil. We have some very nice scented oil. And for thousands of years, oil has been used as part of the healing ministry of the church. It's also been used as a commissioning, a blessing, a sending out in the church. And so in this space and in this context, what we are inviting people to do is to just come forward and receive a blessing and have some oil put on their hands. And people are used to oils and people are used to scented oils. So this isn't an unusual, strange thing for folks. You know, the aromatherapy stuff is very familiar to a lot of people. And so we're using the idea of smell and touch and sense as being something that's evocative, that nourishes the soul and nourishes the imagination and gives people an opportunity to receive something of God's blessing in a way that is quite physical and quite evocative, sensual.
Some of the artwork, for example, the patch of grass that we've got in the church with these little figures that are very fragile, and the installation is called Fragile Lives. And I guess that's a device for helping people to reflect, which is what art has been for generations, for thousands of years. People have used art as a tool to help people to reflect, and that's simply what we're doing here.
I was quite taken aback about how invocative some of them were. There's a lovely installation in the centre which has kind of sand trees in the shape of a cross. And when I lit one of the candles, I then put it down on the sand tree, and I was having my own thoughts and reflections around that. But you know, I then started to play with the sand, and I had all of those kind of psychological journeys back to places of significance when I've maybe either played in the sand or sat with my kids in the sand or moved sand to build. So I really found the installations quite invocative, and they really gave rise to particular kind of feelings and emotions in myself.
Throughout the evening, we've had a variety of musicians playing, fabulous variety of musicians, and singers, musicians, instrumentalists. We've had some poetry reading, and I think part of that is a bit about, one, that we believe that music is one of the healing forces at work in the world, but also music enhances something of the spiritual space. And music often articulates for us what we can't articulate in words. And all the arts do that for us, which is why we've had the installations and the poetry. You know, these are the things that make us human.
You know, I love the music because the music that we've experienced tonight has been kind of discordant. And for myself, again, the sanctuary and the space seems very beautiful, and it seems stimulating. And for me, the contrast, in a sense, with the invocative, the kind of discordant music, gave rise to a kind of jarring feeling, which meant, yeah, enjoy the flickering lights of the candle, but remember some of the disturbing stuff that's going on there as well, and allow yourself to be moved by that, and not just kind of indulge yourself in the delights of some kind of spiritual retreat.
We've only had about an hour or so of music throughout the evening. Much of the evening is in silence, and I think music helps people to tune into the sense of being quiet. It helps them to tune into a sense of stillness, but I think in the silence something deeper happens. We go into a much deeper level of listening.
The Taizé group that operates in Edinburgh came along on 2 nights this week and just offered their form of worship, which is a very, very attractive, accessible and simple and beautiful form of worship, and it's very, very, I think it's very easy for people to identify with it. Well, I don't think we measure it in terms of numbers. I think what we measure is in terms of the response of people who have come and I'll give you an illustration. One woman that I spoke to in the street, telling her about it last night, she said, "Tell me what's happening here," and I said, "It's about this opportunity to help people to reflect, to give people a sense of stillness and an opportunity for calm and for meditation and prayer and reflection in the middle of the city." And she said to me, "You haven't tried to push God or Christianity onto me, and therefore I'll come." And I thought that was a wonderful response and in a sense, a measure of success, because so many people out there are searching for meaning, searching for depth. And I think that what we have to do is accompany people on those journeys.
And I have a sense in which it's the kind of thing that I personally feel it would be wonderful if all churches did it, and it was part of the variety of menu that they had.
And I think there's a lot of talk about emerging church. A lot of people are talking about it, but not so many people are doing it in a way that's accessible for people who maybe have to experience a very different form of church before they can connect with God. a lot of people who just don't go to church anymore on a Sunday. This could be something for them.